Well, hello, it's Travis and Mary Sue. Hello. Back again to talk more about our journeys with all things keto and the two conditions that I'm dealing with right now. I'll straighten my shirt out here, a little kind of scrunchy. Hashimoto's thyroiditis and EOE. The long version of that is eosinophilic esophagitis. And the first episode we had, we talked about our initial trips. We spent about a week ago, 3 days in Cincinnati, going over medical history, and saw an allergist, and that's sort of where we had ended our last episode. Went back the next day, and actually we started shooting this in the car, and ran out of memory. So we decided to wait. I heard back from the doctor with my results of my scope today, so it's kind of good timing. Anyway, we can share that with you. But anyway, we learned a little bit, I would say, off of our trip. What you think?
We did learn.
Okay, a lot of it we'd already learned, or we already found out through online resources. Going through the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, the Cincinnati Center for Eosinophilic Disorders. They treat kids and adults. They are sort of one of the premier places, from what I understand, in the country for this. So it was kind of funny because we went up there for the tour, and it was all these kids and me. And here I am, 50 years old, and there was a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and she got to hold my hand as we went down the halls because all the other kids' moms were holding their hands, so I made her hold my hand too. So I felt like
not his mother,
not my mother, but still. And it was really neat. One of the kids' mom has EOE, and one of the other kids' dad has it. So one thing we found out from the educational tour is that a lot of the kids it's kind of hereditary, or genetics does play a role. I won't say it's hereditary, but genetics does play a role. We have to look at our sheet here that we have. Let's see, about 1 in 2,000 people in the U.S. have EOE. It's a 3-to-1 male to female ratio. So hey, guys, we own this one. Usually Caucasian, so hey, people talk about the benefits of being white male. Well, here's one of the benefits. You can have EOE. Awesome. There are often other allergic diseases, asthma, eczema, food allergies, things like that. So it was really eye-opening on this. We're going to share some of the other information. What else you have there?
I think this was interesting. The EGIDs, the gastritis, the enteritis, and the colitis.
Right. There's actually four different types of EGIDs is what they call them. EOE, which is what I have, is by far the most prevalent. What they say, about 90% of the cases they have are EOE, and then the other 3 conditions are probably combined, maybe 10%. They have all sorts of really cool pictures on here of what your esophagus looks like. You can get these furrows in there. You can get these rings in there. It should be smooth.
In your esophagus.
In your esophagus,
when they
right.
do the scope.
Right, when they do the scope, they'll find these things. It should be smooth. Just you eat something, it just slides straight on down. What can happen, though, when you get these eosinophils, which are basically white blood cells, you should have none of those in your esophagus. If you have over 15... that they find these in a high-powered microscopic field, that's a sign that you have EOE. When I had my original scope done back August last year, I was over 80. It was my level on there for the high-powered microscopic field. Just found out today that I'm over 300 now. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because one of the lab techs that we saw said don't pay attention to the numbers. It really doesn't say, or doesn't really mean that you're worse or better depending on what the numbers are, because there's some people that are really high numbers and they're asymptomatic. The only reason they know this is they get an occasional flare up or something and have done the biopsy. Whereas some people that are down just barely above 15, they're in debilitating pain when they eat something. And this is really neat. The allergist, when we talked to him, sort of described what happens to your esophagus. Like I said, it should be smooth and very flexible, very pliable. But this, when you get these white blood cells, just imagine like your skin is normally kind of smooth and just kind of loose, but then you get a cut and you get a scar on it, and how that scar tissue kind of toughens that up. That's sort of how I envision what's going on with the esophagus. He used the example of a snake that I guess has been out in the sun, drying up or something like that. It's not like this anymore. It's just kind of like that. So when your food goes down, it won't make the bends and the nooks and the crannies and stuff, and it kind of gets lodged. And when it gets lodged, it doesn't get through the various whatever
Like
sphincters.
a snake eating an egg, and it goes down, and then he eats another egg, and it goes down.
Right. And then it gets stuck. So when you eat things like certain nuts or certain foods that cause a reaction, it just kind of freezes up right there and causes really bad pain. So what else we have here?
We have for the treatments for the EOE.
Right. The major there's 3 different ways you can treat this. The number one way that they have had the most success with is through drugs like proton pump inhibitors, or some kind of a corticosteroid drug therapy, like a topical substance, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Slurry.
Yeah, slurry that you would drink, and it would kind of coat everything and calm everything down. The second most successful one is dietary treatments.
Elimination.
Yeah, elimination. Just don't eat things that are going to cause you to have these reactions. And it sounds simple, right? But the thing is, no two people have the same reactions or same foods. For example, I have found that there are certain foods that I can't eat, but those kids there, some of them could eat some of those things. But 2 of the kids had never had a bite of real food before because they had to be put on this formula, almost like a tube feeding thing is what I understand it. So they've never tasted food before because they're so allergic to so many things that this formula that they give them has all the proteins taken out. It just has amino acids and other healthy things in it that are not going to trigger this allergy or this intolerance. And that was something interesting too that the allergist talked about, is that some things are an allergy and some things are just an intolerance. And there's debate going on which one is which. For example, some of the things that I have identified that I can't eat were things like watermelon and apples and oranges, grapes, raisins. And what he said is it's not technically EOE, that's more on the lines of oral allergy syndrome, because it's more of an allergic reaction as opposed to EOE, which kind of locks you up in a different way. Just like take your stomach and just pinch it shut so that nothing can go up or down. It just literally, it's called an impaction. It just locks you in place like that, and you're doubled over in pain, praying for death at that time.
What they do for that.
Right. Eventually, you're with the scar tissue, as I understand it, or the inflammation just causes your esophagus just to get smaller and smaller.
Stricture.
Yeah, stricture. And they can actually send a scope down there and kind of dilate that back out, stretch it back out. That's an option that they don't like to do, but they have to do it sometimes because otherwise it just gets so small that nothing can get down in there.
And if you don't treat it,
yeah, if you don't treat it,
all that inflammation can cause fibrosis.
So yeah, some bad stuff there. What I thought though was interesting though was the oral allergy thing, because I've had that about as long as I've had the EOE. A lot of these symptoms, and when I have these certain things, they affect me in different ways. Like right between my shoulder blades, I just feel like someone just taking a jackhammer to it and just hitting me there. Comes out through my shoulders, up through my neck, out through my ears, out through my teeth, out through the top of my head, and that is an allergic reaction. That's like the histamine.
Some people get like an itchy mouth or itchy ears.
Or hives or things like that.
Nose running.
Right, and nose running is a sure. If you eat something and your nose starts running, you're allergic to it.
Or you start having to clear your throat.
Yeah. You don't hear that ever, do you? Yeah, just a few times. So anyway, avoid those things. The elimination diet that I'm doing, it's either a 6 or an 8 food depending on how you count them. There's wheat and dairy are the primary 2. Those are the big ones. And then you have things like eggs and soy, and you shouldn't eat those. And actually, soy is something that you just shouldn't be eating anyway. It just messes with your hormones in a lot of bad ways. Peanuts.
And everything is made, seems like, with soy nowadays.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So really look at the ingredient list.
Peanuts and tree nuts. Again, that could be 2 different things. If you're doing if you're counting it as an 8 food thing, or it's just peanuts / tree nuts, and then fish / shellfish are the last 2. If you cut out those foods, you have a 70% success rate in reducing your EOE. And I say reducing because one thing we found is there's no cure for this. You keep it forever. So whatever modifications that you have to take to treat this, that's your lifestyle from now on. After I had the scope, the doctor that saw me, she came out, she goes, oh yeah, you're eosinophils everywhere. She put me on a proton pump inhibitor on Mesperol, which is Prilosec. And you can get that over the counter. I think it's 20 milligram doses over the counter in the pharmacy. What she has me on is a 40 milligram tablet in the morning and then 40 at night.
But go to your doctor.
Yes, don't do this on your own. We are not medical people. We're sharing my journey and her journey along with me. Please make sure you get
have it.
right. She is fortunate to not have it, so she is fortunate that when she's doing keto, she's got a much wider selection of things that she can eat. Let's see, what else do we have on there? One thing I thought was interesting was some of the things that could contribute to people getting EOE. And of course, I'm a little bit older than these other kids, but C-sections is one of the things.
Because they don't get the bacteria.
Right. Through a normal birth, they don't have the bacteria that they would pick up on the way. If your child is sick, or if a child is sick a lot on antibiotics as an infant, then that kills the gut flora, and that can be a contributing factor also, and then genetics. So that's kind of interesting. Like I said, I don't remember. It's been a long time for me, but I know I wasn't born through a C-section. I don't remember being sick an awful lot as a child, so it just could be a fluke thing with me.
There was a support group they talked about.
Right, there are a lot of support groups. You can find some online. Let's see, the Eosinophilic Family Coalition is a good one to check out.
The camps were
there's different camps that are available.
Kids.
Mostly for kids. And this real cool thing here, they have the Courageous Cape program, which turns kids into superheroes, and they get this cape. And I asked, okay, is there an age limit on this? And they said no, that I could fill it out, but somebody wouldn't let me. She said I would be taking a cape away from a poor, deserving child. But hey, I have the disease. I need the cape, right? I'll have to make my own cape, because capes are cool. If Star Wars has taught me anything, and Harry Potter, capes are cool.
They took a lab tour.
Yep, took the lab tour, which was interesting. People were super nice. I'd just say that the people at the Children's Hospital were super nice. The receptionist at one place took a little bit longer to pay attention to me. She was actually working. It's kind of funny. She was working on some kind of sign to put on a door because they had a nursing mother or something that was coming back to work. And I thought, okay, well that's legit. That's important. They gave us a lot of other information also. Here's a list of allergy-friendly grocery stores in the Cincinnati area. If you're in the Cincinnati area, this may help. A place called Jungle Gyms, which we did stop by. Super cool, huge, kind of confusing layout. It's just so overwhelming. But their fruits and vegetable selection is just unreal. They have stuff from Korea and Vietnam and Japan and parts of Africa. And we would have to get our Google out and find out what these things even are and how to cook them, because we've never heard of them before. Because if you can't tell, we're from the American South. We're kind of hillbillies. Whole Foods, which we've become regulars at Whole Foods. A place called Clifton Natural Foods. Trader Joe's, obviously Fresh Market, Fresh Time Market, Kroger Marketplace. So we've become familiar with a lot of those. Let's see, what else did we want to share today?
You've got to go back for a scope now in 2 months.
Right. I'll go back and see the doctor that did the scope. I'll go back in 2 months from now and see how I'm doing with the PPI and the Elimination Diet. And then 2 months after that, I will go back and have another scope. So scope's going to be part of my life this year, as well as we'll follow up with the allergist. We did meet with a dietitian also, which was really cool. She talked about various eating plans that we were on. But again, we'd already sort of switched over to keto anyway, because it's a safe thing because of some of the restrictions. Like I can't have fish, I can't have shellfish, which are huge on keto because they have a lot of great oils, especially like salmon. I can't have those anymore. So she can have them. So she has her good fish dinner. It's just not an option for me. But I can have all the vegetables that I want as long as they're cooked. Because it's another thing, and I don't know if it's the EOE or if it's the oral allergy syndrome. I'm sort of leaning toward the EOE, or maybe even the Hashimoto's, because it goes along with that. But certain vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and carrots, if I eat them raw, just double me over in pain, and they're really bad for me. So I've done that for years. So what else?
Let's see. He gave us a big old packet of stuff to go through. One of the things, they do a lot of trials with different medications and different treatments. Travis didn't qualify for any of the trials. One of the ones was for a medication for blood pressure, actually.
Was it lisinopril or losartan?
Losartan. But he didn't qualify for
and
that.
I'd taken that in the past. That I had, before doing keto, I actually had high blood pressure. I think I said this in the first one. It was like 190 over 110 untreated. And after switching to keto last year, losing 60 pounds, my blood pressure now is like 116 over 76.
Normal.
Yeah, they said like a high school student. As a matter of fact, the allergist noticed my Fitbit, and it had my pulse on there. I was just sitting there talking to him. It was 57. He goes, "Man, I wish I had your heart rate." And I said, "Well, keto, it does that."
But they do a lot of trials with medications and age limits there. But Travis was too old for some of
Right, and yeah, really. And the losartan with me, I was one of those people that gets the cough. And those of you who have ever been on losartan know exactly what I'm talking about. You get the losartan cough. Lisinopril cough. I'm sorry, cough, constantly doing that. So anyway, that is the update for now. We will keep you posted as we go through this. We're working on some other things. Appreciate if you could like and subscribe to this. We'll keep you posted on that. That way you'll get notices whenever we update this. Got some other things already in the works. She is going to be sharing some of her favorite recipes, sharing some other things related
more keto.
Definitely more keto.
That he probably won't be eating.
And we'll have some modifications on there. I'll share with you what I can eat and what I can't. Like I used to, before all this, would love a big thing of eggs with all those vegetables chopped up in it and sausage. She's not a big eggs person, but it's like a big scrambled egg mix thing, and man, that was just great. Now I can't have that. So I've had some other things I've had to modify, but we'll share with you what she's eating and how I have to modify that because it's all about your health. You can't be locked into a plan just because someone says you have to do this A, B, and C. I've seen some plans like that. Like a lot of people are on the Whole30, and that's great. I have nothing against anything like that. But if you get on the boards and you ask, well, can I adapt this a little bit? They're like, no, you can't do that. They come down harsh on everybody. We're not that way. We don't want to be Nazi-ish in our approach to this because everybody has their own different...
The food police.
Yeah, we're not the food police. No soup for you. We're not going to do that. So anyway, we'll share that with you in the future. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.